Welcome to the Vogue webinar series brought to you by Newtech Bathroomwear. Our vision with this series is to provide a forum where thought leaders from the design discipline can collaborate and discuss global interior design trends and their application to the New Zealand market. Being super passionate about design and particularly the bathroom space, we wanted to provide an opportunity for designers to share their industry experience in a collaborative forum. Design is a constantly moving landscape with colours and trends constantly evolving. New technology is now also making textures and finishes available. We are super excited today to have three of New Zealand's leading designers in our inaugural session. Donna Jones from Design Option in Auckland, Georgia Langridge from Modi Design in Christchurch, and Natasha Bozic from Designs, also in Auckland. Welcome along to the Newtech Bathroom showroom in Auckland, and we look forward to getting your insights today. Donna, welcome. Great to have you on. Can you tell me about the design option and how your journey in design began?
Sure. Thank you for the warm welcome. So my journey started over 25 years ago, so I'm well and truly entrenched in the marketplace. I work in residential and small commercial jobs in interior design, and so my journey really began with a passion for interior design, renovating and building some of my own homes, and then I was actually very fortunate enough to sort of really fall into interior design as a career. And so much like neighbours and friends and then acquaintances started to ask me to help them on their own homes, and therefore I developed a really strong desire to deliver really amazing interiors and exteriors to my clients. I feel that in the work that I do, I'm there to challenge my clients with ideas. I'm there to show them how they can maybe take something and expand on it. I'm there to introduce them to an idea that they may not have thought of. And so it's all part of helping them create beautiful homes and not just have a house to live in.
And your experience has taken you right across the whole country. You've talked about some projects in Wanaka, Queenstown and that kind of thing. Yeah. Now tell us about what your focus is these days.
Sure. So my focus really these days is more of the residential projects, and I do tend to just work in the North Island. While I've loved doing projects further south, I'm just concentrating more on the North Island now. A lot of my clients are repeat clients, and I also work on a lot of beach homes actually, which I really enjoy.
Lovely. Very good. Well, thanks again for joining us today. Look forward to hearing some more of your insights. Georgia from Modi Design in Christchurch, welcome to Auckland.
Hi, thank you.
Good to have you here.
Good to be here.
Can you talk to us about your design journey?
So I'm an interior designer and owner of Modi Design. We specialise in residential interiors also. We cover off everything within the interior envelope, so from flooring selections, paint colours, spatial designs, furniture, wallpapers, and then in our CAD software we'll draw up all of our joinery, so kitchen, bathrooms, and built joinery. Our clients don't have to have that full package. They can choose aspects of some, or they might start somewhere and then they're enjoying the process and it can grow from there. We're quite a lean team. There's three of us, but we feel like that's a really good kind of number or ratio for us with our projects. It means that all three of us are really well covered in each project, so we each know what's happening at each phase of each project. And also it's really just honing in on who excels at what, so it gives a really nice well considered and well covered process for our clients. I guess being a creative and the design is so important, but for us the design and the journey and the organisation is really important as well.
Something quite interesting about your setup as well with the retail presence on Victoria Street. You provide a good design link into the actual manufacturing space. Can you talk to us a little bit about that?
Yeah, so this year we opened up a studio and showroom down Victoria Street in the city centre. It's a really beautiful street. And there we have pieces that we have designed in-house, and then we work with a handful of craftsmen and trades to create our beautiful pieces. It becomes a really nice inspiring and kind of almost like a concept store. So it's not just for our clients to purchase things from. It can also be someone walking in across the street. They might come in and see a sofa and say, I love that, but it needs to meet my needs for, you know, I might have a pet or young children. Fabrics need to change dimensions and sizes. And so I think that's a nice pull for Christchurch, to have something that's a little bit more bespoke and readily available, and something a little bit inspiring, pieces that they haven't seen before, but not so polarizing that they can't imagine that in their own space.
Yeah, it's cool. Looking forward to getting into that space. Natasha, welcome. You're really bringing European design to New Zealand firmly, being originally from Slovenia.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah. Can you tell us about your design experience and journey in New Zealand?
Yes, I'm the founder of Designs, and as you mentioned before, I'm based in Auckland. At Designs, I offer full interior design service, working on residential projects, renovations, new builds, furniture and finishing touches, but also tapping into commercial space and working on commercial projects. My interior design journey started about 9 years ago, when I decided to follow my passion for interior design after working over a decade in advertising and marketing. I felt like I needed change and just follow what I'm really passionate about. So I started working in interior design, and after a few years and finished diploma in interior design, I founded Designs in 2018, and I never looked back. I love working on all sorts of projects, and really love working with clients, getting to know them, and my goal is to design and create spaces that are warm, approachable, functional, and also with a little bit of infused, I guess, design edge and eclectic beauty. And I love to introduce into my design some pieces or elements that are a little bit different and unexpected. That is, if that refers back to my clients and their style as well. And I guess that's just a little something extra, or a bold stroke, I guess, as a stamp for my designs. So love being in this industry, and always been passionate about design and kind of influenced and connected to it, being so close to European design, and 5 hours drive from Milan, which is the fashion capital in Europe, with all of the design fairs going on, as well as this recent one. So I feel like I'm always connected to that part of the world and always looking what's over
coming
there.
Yeah, that's great. We're looking forward to having all of your insights today. We've got some cool subjects to cover off, and the viewers will be excited, no doubt, to understand the first one, which is colours, seasonal colours. Donna, I'll start with you. What are you seeing at the moment in terms of what's on trend in colours, and how people can use that in their renovations or new builds?
Well, really, out of Milan this year, we've seen a real strong presence of the burgundies, cherry reds, and alongside that, we're actually already seeing in our marketplace, like you're probably not seeing those berry reds and strong colours just yet, because Milan is always so ahead of us, but we're actually already starting to see so much of that beautiful burnt orange, reddy orange, terracotta colours. And I even remember those from the 90s myself, having terracotta tiles on my floor. So, while these are trending colours, I don't particularly follow trends myself. I love to introduce colour into people's homes, and if someone wants to have an on-trend colour per se, we can introduce it in accessories like beautiful trays, floral arrangements. In a bathroom, it would be towels, for instance. In a kitchen, it could be display items in open shelving or something like that. But then there's nothing wrong with bringing in bold colours into your tiling or into your cabinetry. A lot of people get hindered by the fact that if they do something too bold, then their house might not be resaleable. And so I think you need to forget about all of that. And I think these days people are looking, when they're repurchasing or buying homes, they're looking actually for something that's really different. and often by using colour, and it could just be by painting the walls. You know, and if you paint the walls, how easy is that to change in 5 years? And so you could introduce that trend colour with paint or wallpaper, something that's really easy to change. It doesn't have to be a hard material like a tile that's not so easy to change.
Yeah, a point of difference can be a really good thing.
Absolutely.
Keep things same on the market there.
Exactly. Yeah, no one likes going from home to home and seeing the same old thing again.
Georgia, you've got some interesting colours on your slide too, in terms of similar themes going. Can you talk to us about your inspiration this season?
There's definitely, I guess, a continued kind of presence from my point of view. Also, a lot of those oxbloods coming through, a little bit of those kind of Pinot Noir tones. Everyone loves those in winter. I feel like it's not a particularly new trend. I think this has been around. It always kind of crops up in winter. And so I don't think it feels too bold to kind of really lean into that. It is still quite a timeless colour. I think a lot of our interiors are getting a little bit warmer. We're introducing taupes and beige, and I think that's really close to burgundy and oxblood, that it doesn't feel like we're deviating that far away. So you might have a really nice base palette of neutrals, and your oxbloods, your burgundies are actually really easy to incorporate. Following from fashion trends as well, you know, a lot of patent leathers coming through, kind of, I would liken that to glossy ceramics, or it's a little bit of that materiality. So there's a little bit of matte and there's a little bit of gloss in there as well. And that just highlights the different tones coming through. But I think a really warm, sumptuous oxblood burgundy is here for this winter, and probably a few more to come, I would say.
If you've got a client who's liking that, but maybe just doesn't want to jump into the tile or the joinery, how do you incorporate?
I think it's where you kind of dial up and dial back the kind of the volume of it, I guess, and that's just knowing what those boundaries are for a client. I think we as designers, they come to us for a reason, so it's our job to show something maybe out the box, as Donna had said, what they hadn't considered. But I think it's also really important to know, okay, how far do I push this and where do I apply this? I think we're seeing a lot of trends now where we're getting kind of like a mishmash of trends. So, you know, there's a really big coined word, Japandi, so it's Japanese and Scandinavian design together. I think sometimes we could say the tone or the colour is burgundy, but sometimes referencing and mixing that in with other seasonal colours, we could be adding, in the colour board that I have, some purples or some lilacs, and that makes it a little bit more seasonal as well, so you don't feel like I've got, oh my gosh, a full-blown interior that's kind of a winter trend. So I think layering and then knowing where those boundaries are for a client is important.
You've also mentioned before sage green, something to add in that mix?
I think sage green is a really good safe bet. It's a natural colour, anything that you see outside, right? So you're thinking kind of leaves or driftwood on the beach, and you get those colours in the water or the sea. Sage, I think, is a really good pairing with both warm and cool colours as well. And it means it's just not quite as bold. So you can have, you're looking for a colour but maybe not something too deep or too saturated, sage is a good safe bet also.
We've certainly seen the greens through the bathroom joinery space.
Totally.
Quite a lot of that coming in. Natasha, you've got some a little bit of a different take on your slides. A bit of the same, but also
same, but also a little bit
different.
Just an add-on, I would say.
Tell us about that.
I just love color and the power of that color holds. I guess it can transform spaces, and it also changes emotions and how we experience a space in different colors, which I think is quite important as well to know, working with clients and on projects, and what they would like to achieve and how they would like their home to feel like. And I think what Donna and Georgia said, we're definitely kind of seeing two directions. One is more of the neutral colors that are moving from the grays to the more warmer tones, like taupes and beiges that Georgia mentioned, that are bringing, you know, the softness and the comfort. And then the other direction is more rediscovering color again. And I think it was a lot of talk going through reports from Milan about red color, and everyone was a little bit alarmed. Oh my gosh, red, we haven't seen it in interiors for quite some time. And I think we all instantly think about, you know, the 80s and the 90s with black and white kitchens and red splashbacks. It's evolved a little bit from that, and we're more looking at deeper tones, more matured tones with brownie tones, and that bring a lot of depth. And then the more brighter tones would be more playful and probably used more for statement pieces or accessories. But just on my inspiration board, I guess, as well, and color board, there's also a little bit of yellow. That has definitely come through looking at reports from Milan as an accent color. It's quite a bold color, but it can be quite versatile, and it's anything from, you know, those buttery tones, yellows, to egg yolk, to greenish yellowy tones, and we've seen them in textiles, accessories, and like glass furniture shelving, which is an interesting take and something different that's kind of coming through a little bit. But yeah, in terms of other finishes, we've seen, as I think Georgia mentioned as well, a bit more chrome, aluminium tones coming through, moving away from black finishes a little bit. And in timbers, we are seeing more dark woods, walnutty, rich colors that go really well with those burgundy tones that you can also see on my color inspiration board. And these are just some examples. Some of them are actually from local suppliers. For example, the square tiles are from the local tile supplier. So we're definitely starting to see the burgundy tones come in to our market as well, which is really, really exciting. And then just some examples how you can bring the color in with furniture or a piece of art or lamp. And if you're not as bold as bringing color in that way, then you can, there's one really nice example of flowers with, you know, the red tone in it.
Yeah, that won't last too long.
No, but you can change it next week again.
But I like what you say in terms of a piece of furniture. It's pretty straightforward to replace a piece of furniture with if that's going to be your bold colour.
Yeah.
You know, like replacing that, and you know, not everyone's going to.
Or
do
just
it,
replace fabric and be a little bit more conscious of, you know, upcycling, recycling. Which is a big thing as well. And a lot of talks about the sustainability and waste, I guess, management.
I think people will find some good inspiration there from the colour chat, some similarities, but also some different takes. We're going to talk about textures now. In the bathroom, we're seeing texture come in with drawer fronts and different finishes in that kind of space. Natasha, I'll stay with you. Can you tell us about what you're seeing, texture now, what you see coming down the road and that kind of space soon to be released?
There are definitely trends that have been around for a couple of years in terms of textures, but they're here to stay. Maybe they're just slightly moving into other materials and the way how we use it. A good example of that is, you know, the fluted detail. We've seen it on feature walls. We've seen it in tiles. We've seen it on vanities. We're kind of seeing the movement a little bit towards marbles and stones now. It's a real craftsmanship behind it. Seen a lot of islands in the past with timber paneling and the reeded kind of fluted detail. Now we are seeing marble coming in stone in the fluted detail. So that's really exciting. You have an example on my board with a basin. And one other thing is more organic textures are still very strong. It's either plastered walls or you know, tiles with a lot of variation in tone. That would be another example. One thing that we have seen as well is bricks come back in a different way, moving away from solid. If we go into exterior a little bit, moving from solid bricks to more textured, and again, a lot of variation in tone, which is one example on my board as well. And then with fabrics, I feel like boucle has been around for a few years. It looks like it's here to stay for a little bit longer, but we are definitely seeing shift from more neutral ivory, off-whites to using that fabric in color, so deep blues, terracottas, orangey tones, greens. Yeah, definitely seeing them moving from just walls with fluted details into walls with fluted details, but maybe layered with color as well, rather than just neutral.
That's good. Sounds like some interesting stuff happening in those solid material spaces. Yes. Donna, you've talked about sustainability and textures as well. Can you talk to us a bit about your thoughts in that space?
Yes, I mean, I'd agree with what Natasha said about texture and fluting, and timber's been very, very strong in that area to date. And I think it really adds another layer to a design. So if you imagine a design with all smooth surfaces, it's just uninspiring and unexciting. And so as a designer, we're always trying to bring in much more texture. And obviously the sustainability thing's been there for quite some time, and so there's been a lot of use of timber, of recycling, of reusing. But I love the fact that we are now seeing this fluted detail much more commonplace, like in vanity basins, in marble in particular, that's coming around the islands, like you mentioned. And it really, really adds a whole nother dimension to a space when you can extend it with that beautiful feeling. People want to touch it. That is the great thing about texture. People walk up to something and they will run their hand over it because they want to feel that texture. And in my slides, I've added some interesting textures in a couple of different areas. And so you can add paneling to a wall. Something I just did in a recent project of a house. Rather than adding a headboard, we added texture by adding the paneling. And again, it really adds that dimension, and then you add colour on top of that. And it's something unique, it's something different, and it's something that the client hasn't thought about. We can bring it in with our art, and that's something that people often forget about. And I spend a lot of time helping my clients select art. And so that's really important to me. You don't just have a framed canvas. I like to add texture, and I like to work with clients on creating commissions, and you'll see a beautiful round timber ply piece in my slide there that we commissioned for this particular project. Another way of adding interesting texture is not to forget about things like lighting, and you'll see I've got a beautiful image there. I've got, again, a lovely textured timber. This was a project from last year. You can see the light, that beautiful soft flowing pendant light that has that beautiful shape, that fluid shape. And so the trends that we've been seeing are lots of soft curves and fluid shapes rather than hard edges. And that's far more pleasing, I think, to have those soft textures. On the very back wall, and you probably can't see it so easily, but on the back wall of that kitchen is a beautiful mesh. And so this is a brass mesh product that we've inserted into this kitchen to, again, add some layer, add some texture. It could have just been completely plain like the rest, but by adding that extra element of another texture creates a bit of interest in there as well. Natasha also mentioned boucle, and we as designers have been seeing boucle for quite some time now, but boucle has really extended its range, and a lot of our suppliers now have a whole collection of more than 20 colours in boucle, so I've also included that. A lot of people might just be using boucle as a first stop and now think about using it in a colour. So you get that lovely texture. It's very, very forgiving, for pets and things like that, but it's available now in lots and lots of colours.
You'd also mentioned out of Milan transparency in that sort of texture pattern space. Can you talk to us about what you've seen?
Transparency is amazing because we can add, say we work in an apartment, that's where transparency would be super helpful, in that we can have acrylic glass for reflection. Acrylic means that something can not take up a lot of space, and Cartel has been a leading in the marketplace in terms of acrylic products. And I really like the fact that you can add something without it feeling like a heavy piece in a space. And like I said, with the pieces we're seeing that are mirrored, like smoky mirror. I did a kitchen where we did a bar area and we used a beautiful smoky mirror for that reflection, that luxe, that elegance. But because it was an apartment, it therefore reflected a view, which is really beautiful as well.
And helps create the space, obviously.
It does, yes.
Georgia, and textures for you?
I think it's an exciting time for, especially for people who don't necessarily lean into colour so much. I think because we're seeing these textures and we're seeing these beautiful profiles coming through, it doesn't feel like there's nothing left for the people who aren't so bold as to layer patterns and layer different colours. So I think it's a really exciting time where everyone kind of gets something for the interior. I think there's a really big lean to, it's kind of going both ways, and you'll see on the board that I have made quite a sleek texture, which would be the top left corner, but also blending that in with some almost kind of artisanal products. You know, it looks like someone is, you know, hand painted elements. I guess an idea would be the top right wall sconce, which is so beautiful, and it's got those brush strokes coming through. Anything that looks organic and it kind of feels like it's come through, I guess, the land, or it's been created by someone, I think that adds a nice amount of personality, and I think leaning into more of a curated feel, I think is what people are really liking.
Like handcrafted?
Yeah, it has a little bit of soul, where it feels like I might have seen a particular vase from overseas and I brought it with me and it tells a story, or kind of those talking points. Gosh, how did they make this? Or, you know, coming around a dining table and it's a solid piece, and there might be some details within that becomes a talking point of people coming over. But I think also some really cool forms are coming through as well, particularly in side tables and armchairs. You know, they're quite small in their size, where they don't take up a lot of space in a home, but they provide a lot of impact. And even blending in different materials, so using, you know, dual timber tones together. You might have darker furniture, but your kitchen cabinetry might be a little bit lighter. Just adds a little bit of complexity. Of course, getting the right undertone between the timbers is a slightly separate conversation, but I think we're seeing a little bit more layering and a little bit more of I guess a forgiving interior, where not everything has to be perfect and not everything is too sleek and angular. We're bringing in different forms, we're mixing it up, different profiles.
Yeah, definitely hearing the natural, organic kind of themes coming through there. Textures, handcrafted. Hopefully the people at home can get some inspiration from that. Sounding really good. We're going to stay with you, Georgia, and talk about designing in spaces. So we're keen to know what your insights are on balancing practicality with looks, how you do that with your clients, and also talking about how do you get something that's kind of timeless but still on point. Trendy.
Yeah. I think we really dial it back. We have quite an extensive brief that we try and gather from clients. We try and get a really nice rapport at the start, so they're answering really unapologetically. So, you know, I don't want to come around to someone's house and they've cleaned it all perfectly and it's not how they live. It's really important for me to come in and see their day-to-day lives, and how can we either maximize space or provide storage solutions. That means that everything has its own place. I think that's actually the epitome of luxury, is designing to someone. I think there's such a big focus on how does it look, but it's how does it feel, how does it perform. I guess if you're ticking off all of those boxes of just your practical everyday lifestyle, it's actually invoking a really nice feeling of being in the interior as well. Having said that, the materiality is always the exciting part as well for designers, and so it's blending those materials together. But again, making that equally practical, and so the clients know what they're going to receive. If they like a dark timber floor, for instance, we'll get a really big sample and we'll tell the client to take it home. Do you have pets? Try and encourage them to walk over it, and, you know, how is it with cleaning? Splashbacks is another big one. A lot of people are liking to introduce a little bit of I guess pizzazz, or something as a bit of a feature for a splashback. But, you know, we've got those organic materials that are undulating. How is that to clean? Test that behind your hob and make sure that it's easy to get off sources and all of those kind of things. And I think that just means that the design is backed up by, you know, it's not just pretty to look at. It works how I know it will. What you see is what you get. So I think that's really important for us in our spaces. And then also equally on the look of it, we don't really have a set style. We won't design the same look between projects. We'll take cues, again, from our extensive client brief, the project surroundings, also the architect, creating quite a seamless transition if it's a new build from the architect through into what we're creating. And then just getting little ideas from them. They might send some imagery through. How we interpret that can always be quite a fun experience for a concept meeting with the client.
That speaks to me in terms of the practically using something before I spend a whole lot of money on it. That's a great idea. You know, like no surprises.
No surprises.
Yeah, fantastic.
Only good surprises.
Yeah, cool. Natasha, can you talk to us about how you start a conversation with your clients around their project space and what your
I think
methodology is
there's
here?
sometimes, talk about what we are discussing today, how to create and design interiors that are timeless but also on trend. And I think anything that is personalized is also timeless. And what I mean by that is once you get to know your clients, you know what they like, who they are, what's their lifestyle, and also what their collection, I guess, of references and objects that they have fallen in love with over time is. That's a really good base to start with, and take inspiration from that even. And that will always be relevant to them. So that pretty much means that it's timeless to them. So what I then do once we have identified those elements, then you start filling the gaps with everything else. It's either incorporating trends with furniture or finishing touches that can change over time when new trends come, when life changes. And yeah, that's kind of part of the process, how I work with clients. And I think I'm definitely not a big fan of just incorporating trends. I think it's really important for clients to understand what their overall vision is for their home, what's their relationship to trends, and also the practicality behind them. Because something that's on trend might not necessarily work for their home. So I think it's really important to understand that rather than just, let's just do that because it's on trend.
You mentioned before, don't just do something because it's a trend.
Yeah.
Does it actually speak to you?
Speak to you. Because if you will put a certain color into your home and it's not the color that you love and identify with, it will never feel like your home. And I think that's really important. So I try to talk to clients about that and obviously ask a lot of questions before we start working on their projects to get that understanding what's important for them and what they like and what they don't like.
I think that's really good advice. Yeah. Donna, what's your favourite space in the house to design? And we're going to have some shots of some of your designs up on the screen. But do you have a favourite space in the house that you...
I don't know that I do have a favourite space. I love working on all aspects of the home, actually, but the slides that I've provided are focused mainly on bathrooms, actually.
Thank you.
Because we're talking about bathrooms. But the way I work with my clients is, I'm here to help extend their knowledge, push their boundaries, but ultimately it's their home. It's not mine. And so, if you look through any of my past projects, you'll see that there isn't like a connecting thread per se. I'm delivering an interior that works for my clients. And so whether my clients are recently retired, it's a beach home, they have a large extended family, I love to chat to them about how this home is going to be used so that we can ensure that, for one, like Georgia mentioned, we use products that are suitable. So no point using a product that's super high maintenance on a floor like a natural stone where they might be coming in with dirty footprints and they may have a lot of pets, for instance. So working with them to provide products that are most suitable for their home, but also that sort of covers off everything, including, fabrics, durability of fabrics. These days, say you have a beautiful window seat, you're overlooking the ocean, I might use an outdoor fabric because it's got a high performance, less fading, and it's going to work a lot better than a fabric that's, say, 100% linen or 100% cotton that we know is going to fade. And so my process when working with the clients to determine their likes and their dislikes, no point showing them a floral fabric with red in it when they really dislike red, for instance. So really uncovering the key things they want to get out of their home, how they're going to be using it, and also incorporating past pieces. Someone might have a beautiful antique piece of furniture, and I really, really love projects like that, where they have a piece that's been handed down throughout the family and they want to incorporate that into a home. We can incorporate that into a really contemporary home. It's just how we use it. Often I might go into a client's home and they have a really beautiful piece of art, and I might take my inspiration from some of the colours that are in there and bring that through into some of the fabrics that I might use. And so in these images here, you know, I've shown some bathrooms where I've used natural stone, and natural stone is a really great way to bring in some interesting textures and colours. And I really love that we're using those more and more these days. We moved away and started using a lot of engineered type products, and these days we're using a lot more natural stones and marbles, but people understand before we use them that there is a little bit of care. You know, you need to take care of those a little bit more than you would, say, an engineered stone. And so we can change up our bathrooms by using wallpaper, interesting tiles. I've even featured a Newtech vanity there.
Thank you.
That's in my recent Beach House project, which I'm really loving. You know, I incorporated my own top into that, for instance.
See that?
So you can mix up and you can use a standard top that comes from Newtech, or you can incorporate your own top into that and change the whole look of it, different basins, different tapware.
Is that a marble?
No, that's actually a ceramic product.
Okay.
Yeah, so,
cool.
you know, if anyone stays over and they leave their dark coloured, whatever it might be, they're not going to stain my bench top. And that was important to me, not having a place that was precious where I would be worried about people ruining my tops in the bathroom. Whereas in my own home, which is a lot of marble, I'm not worried because I'm careful. I don't need to worry about visitors or friends having to take care.
Yeah, it's a good mix of taking that practicality versus form elements.
Yes.
Very good. Now, there's an opportunity for us to take any questions in the webinar. And I don't believe we've got any online. So what we're going to do is just say thanks, Donna, Georgia and Natasha, for coming on to our inaugural In Vogue webinar. Really appreciated your insights and ideas that you've provided. Thanks to Newtech for hosting at our showroom, 525 Great South Road. And thanks for the viewers for joining in for this first In Vogue webinar. We look forward to seeing you at the next one.